Hello my friends and welcome to my review of Sailor Moon R. I will be talking about episodes 47 to 59 today, part 1, or also known as the Doomtree arc or the Makai Tree arc. Let's go ahead and get to that summary. After the events of the first season, the gang is living out their lives with zero memories of what happened beforehand, which could be somewhat confusing considering Naru is friends with Ami, so Usagi would still remember Ami being her friend, and oh my gosh, this is just weird. Anyway, two aliens invade Earth named Ail and An. Ail and An survive off of this plant called a Makai tree, but in order to keep this thing alive, they need to feed it human energy. They use monsters called the Guardians to help them in this task. They decide that the most efficient way to do this is to squat in an empty apartment in town and then pose as local high school students. Due to the arrival of this new enemy, Sailor Moon and friends are forced to reawaken their memories and become heroes again. They are aided by the mysterious Moonlight Knight, who definitely isn't Mamoru. No, seriously, look, he's not Mamoru. He can't possibly be. They're both in the same room at the same time. Are you an idiot for possibly thinking they could be the same person? No. Why, yes. Yes, you are! 'Cause they clearly are not the same. Over the course of some filler episodes, the Sailor Guardians gain slightly better upgrades to their main attacks. Ail and An develop a rivalry with the main characters and their disguised personas, and as enemies as their real selves. Then, out of nowhere, the final episodes begin. The Makai Tree begins its final assault to take over the world, and the Sailor Guardians fight against it. But actually, it was never evil to begin with. You see, the Makai Tree reveals that it created Ail, An, and the other aliens in their race. In time, the aliens began wars to covet the Makai Tree's power. Their very planet was destroyed in the process, leaving none but Ail and An alive. Let me be clear with you. No other aliens survived this attack. None. They are the only ones. Definitely the only ones. Turns out, the Makai Tree's true energy source is that of pure love. Ail and An learned that earning love is not the same as taking it. Love is something that grows and develops as a result of caring for one another. The two leave to plant a new Makai Tree seed on another planet and vow to never take energy again. Oh, and the Moonlight Knight was totally Mamoru. It was just like a part of his spirit or something that was like separated from him. This one kind of confuses me, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. So let's talk about favorite character and least favorite character. Honorary mention goes to my good boy Artemis. Artemis gets physically destroyed in some of these episodes. I mean, just look at this. I was laughing so hard at some of these scenes that I had to pause the episode. I mean, they were that funny. So definitely honorary mention goes to Artemis. If we're being serious though, I have to go with Ail and An. And I'm going to be mentioning this frequently throughout this review, but I am a manga fan. I've mentioned this in the past two reviews, and I am going into this anime for the first time. I didn't really know much about this arc. I knew that there was some backlash toward this arc because, I mean, as with almost any anime, people don't like filler. They don't like when studios have to come up with their own story to kind of put in some, like, fluff time in order to make sure that whatever manga they're adapting their anime from is able to catch up. So a lot of times these story arcs can be somewhat lackluster. I'm gonna be real with you guys, Ail and An, despite being original characters that only appeared in the anime, they're really good. Their motivation for being villains is quite refreshing, if I'm being honest with you. So as the summary said, in order to maintain their livelihood, in order to stay alive, they have to steal energy. So they do so from stealing energy from people on Earth. And even in the times that they do succeed, all they really do is put people into like a mini coma that never lasts more than a couple of days. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not about to justify their actions by any means, but at the same time, it's a lot less malicious than like the Dark Kingdom, for example. I mean, these guys, they're understandable. Yeah, sure, An is a bit of a jerk herself, and Elle definitely can be one too, but I found their motivations to be very refreshing when it comes to Sailor Moon villains. Usually with Sailor Moon villains, you get this big, sort of like, grandiose essence that wants to devour the world because it's evil and no other reason. Ail and An were a nice change. It was very, very refreshing. Not to mention, An herself is just absolutely hysterical. I love how melodramatic she is, especially with her crush on Mamoru. And Ail's he's got a thing or two going for him too. I liked especially in the second to last episode how he noticed how good it felt to have Usagi and her friends visit their apartment when they were concerned over An's physical health, which was a nice touch. You usually don't get to see heartwarming moments for villains in Sailor Moon, at least in the manga, which is most of what I've experienced in Sailor Moon. Now let's get to least favorite character, and I'm just gonna level with you guys. This season was pretty solid. I didn't really have any standout character that was consistently bad. If I'm going to give the award to anybody, it's gotta be Miss Haruna. As an upcoming teacher myself, when I saw that episode where she gave a detention to both Usagi and An, and they had to finish that worksheet, otherwise they wouldn't go home, and then she straight up just left them at the school to go on a date. Like, like, her responsibility was to watch them. Not only to watch them and make sure that they were in the school serving their detention, but also their one means of getting home. Like, they had to report to her that they were done. And for her to just leave them like that, man, that's, people make mistakes, but that's a pretty big mistake. But again, this is coming from a more personal level. If I'm gonna be real with you guys, there really wasn't a character that stood out to me as being that awful. Except for Miss Haruna. Awful. Next, let's move on to favorite episode and least favorite episode. My favorite episode this season is a tie. First, let's discuss the filler episode, Steal Mamoru's Kiss on Snow White Strategy. As I mentioned before, An was definitely one of my favorite characters this season, and this episode was absolutely hysterical. It was really refreshing to see all of the girls coming together, along with the villain, An, to put together this ridiculous play. I mean, the play got more ridiculous as time went on. It wasn't really, like, dwarves, it was, like, somehow turned into animal mascot. Snow White and the animal mascots, okay. The most important thing about the episode, though, two most important things, is that we have An, who's super dramatic, you know, she wants to kiss Mamoru, so she rigs the character roles by basically making sure that she ends up being Snow White, which, you know, I get this is a children's show, but I saw that coming a mile away, so the whole revelation that, oh, she rigged the, I don't know what you would call that. It's like a Japanese thing. The pulling of the strings. That wasn't really a big surprise. However, this episode is infamous in the original dub. So they all argue about who would be the best Snow White. And, you know, so Ami's like, well, Snow White doesn't have that many lines, so I have to study a lot, so I don't have to memorize lines, so I probably would be the best bet. I mean, come on, let's be real here. And, Makoto, Sailor Jupiter, has the best argument, and that is, well, she's got a lot of talent, as it's referred to in the original 90s dub. In the original Japanese and the Viz dub, it's not that she has a lot of talent, it's that she's got a big rack. She's got some big boobs, and that's why she would be best suited for Snow White. I'm not even kidding. This is a joke that is made in Sailor Moon. Yeah. But it was still a very fun episode. I liked seeing the girls interact with each other. Seeing Usagi having to dress up as a wicked witch was very cute as well. I love seeing Usagi out of her comfort zone. All in all, great episode. And for my other favorite episode, definitely True Love Awakens, the Makai Tree's secret, or the Makaiju's secret. As I mentioned in the summary, it turns out, kind of the big twist of the season, the Makai Tree is not evil. It's not. It was corrupted by evil and by misguided intentions, but the Makai Tree itself is not evil. The Doom Tree is not a Doom Tree. And it is this very twist that made that final episode great for me. That really solidified this filler season. I'm gonna be real with you guys, this filler season is being my best season so far, or mini season rather, because it's part of season R. I mean, I really, really enjoyed that twist because I feel like too often in magical girl anime and other anime, there's good and evil, and that's it. And no matter what, of course you're going to support good because good is good and evil is bad. In this, it was more of a misunderstanding. A misguided couple thinks that the only way to survive is to take from others. And they end up learning that no, that was not the truth at all. In fact, their love can sustain them. And the fact that the Makai tree itself wasn't evil was something that it was touching. It was, of course, Sailor Moon is a children's show, so I don't expect some kind of life-changing revelation to come out of it, but I mean, I feel like that's a really, really strong message, is that love is not something you take, it's something that grows within you, something that you share with others. I mean, that's a really powerful, wonderful message. And once again, as I mentioned before in the favorite character section, having Ail and An not actually be villains was, again, a really, really nice, refreshing thing for Sailor Moon. I really enjoyed that. It was nice not to have the villain blow up at the end and Usagi and friends go, well, shucks, that was that. Everybody learned a lesson. Everybody was able to move on with their lives, which was really cool. Although I am a bit sad to learn that Ail and An are never mentioned again from this point on, especially I made that joke in the summary that Fiore and Sailor Moon are the movie is never confirmed, but he seems to be the same alien race as Ail and An, and it's never brought up in that movie, which is a big disappointment. Let's get on to the least favorite episode because, yeah, so my least favorite episode is definitely Mamoru and Usagi's babysitting mayhem. Annoyed the whole way through. I was just annoyed the entire way through. Don't get me wrong. I like babies. Babies are cute. They're cuddly, they're small and wonderful, but when I watch anime, I don't watch anime to hear babies screeching. Ugh. I don't like baby noises coming out of my TV when I'm trying to enjoy my anime. And not only the baby stuff, but there was some other things that made this episode bad. The middle of this season has the Sailor Guardians powering up their basic attack. So Venus ends up saving a bus full of school children with Sailor Moon. She ends up getting a bigger, better form of Crescent Beam. Sailor Mercury also gets a bigger, better form of her attack, but she gets it in this episode, and it's not because she learned a lesson or developed as a character. She kind of just shows up at the end and gets it. And I really felt that that was a huge disservice to her character. It was very, very confusing as to why Mars, Venus, and Jupiter got these solo episodes to kind of discover themselves, and Mercury gets nothing. It was like, oh, okay. So yeah, definitely didn't like that episode. Finally, here are my final thoughts. The Doom Tree arc ain't so bad. Go figure. Despite it being filler, as I've said before, this is my favorite season so far. I like that Toei Animation was able to do with Sailor Moon something creative, something that they wanted to do. Because from what I understand, and I don't have absolute confirmation on this, Nako Takeuchi is very, very protective of Sailor Moon. She's kind of adverse to major adaptations. So while you have the new musicals that are out right now that do have a lot of adaptations in them, particularly, at least from what I've seen, the Black Moon musical has a really cool plot twist. If you haven't seen it yet, I definitely recommend it. But she's very protective of her work, so it's highly unlikely we're ever going to get something like the Makai Tree or the Doom Tree ever again. And it's a little sad, and I'm glad that I was able to watch this mini season because, once again, as I've said up until this point, I kind of really was blind to his existence. Filler's not always bad, you guys. Sometimes it can be really good. Now, of course, the best thing about finishing this season is I don't have to worry about crying little babies anymore. crying little children either. No, yeah, none. No more of that, right? Right? No, please. Please, no. Please, no. No. No.